everybody. Welcome to the fourth Saturday video hop from Meri Atelier. Thank you very much, Meri. This is going to be a little bit of an interesting one. The topic for today is grouping. And this can go in so many different areas. Grouping, to me, as an artist, involves every aspect of the composition of your artwork. So it could go into grouping of color, grouping of texture, grouping of objects, subject matter, color. It can go on and on and on. As you know, composition is a huge topic, so I'm not going to get into all of that, and it can be a little bit boring. But I thought it would be interesting just to show you what I know and the importance of grouping of those areas. And all I'm going to do is show you some of my artwork and show you where the grouping is and why it's important. So this is a very old scrapbook, or not scrapbook, journal book, and these are acrylic paintings with some scrapbook paper in it. There's a little bit of molding paste, drawing on it, so it's got everything on it, basically. So the grouping is important for the composition of a painting, and that's important because of your mind's eye. So whoever's going to be viewing this, everybody's mind's eye knows what they like. So it'll tell you, no, I don't like this, or it's too busy. You have the intuition to know what looks interesting and pleasing to the eye. So with this one here, we have a grouping of cherries. Now we've got a fair amount of grouping here. We have grouping of texture, we have a grouping of color, and we also have the leaves in a grouping. We can also add paint colors. And the most satisfying of groupings is 3, 5, 7, so all your negative numbers. So here's the 3. And then here is 5, all of them together. And they're all the same color, so we can class that as 5 cherries. But we have them in different areas, so we have actually 3 groupings here. So we have a set of 3 here, a set of 2, and then we have 3 leaves. So it's pleasing to the eye. We also have 3 texture areas. That's also pleasing to the eye. This is a way of kind of showing people where to look also. So we have a limb down here, it follows this, then I can go across here and it brings me back up into the cherries. Can bring this over here. So grouping is very important, so it can involve all areas of your work. This here is also another grouping. So we have 3 colored of poppies. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 buds, but we have 1, 2, 3 that are closer together, or these 3 can be closer together. These 3 can be closer together. So you kind of get what I'm looking at. We also have this ribbon running through it, and that'll bring your eye through it. So grouping is very, very important, and see where your groupings are. Also, we don't want a whole bunch of, say we put all of these in one area, right in the center of the page. That would be probably boring. People would look at it, but they wouldn't stay and look at it. Whereas this, because of the way they're grouped, your eye will look at this longer than if it was all bunched together. So we have this that your eye would look at. It'd bring you up to this area. So you take a look at the colors. Your eye would be brought down to here. And also the background brings your eye around. This is also a way of grouping. This is kind of an abstract, but the grouping here is done with scraps of paper. So I have the black that brings your eye down, and I also have the red that bring your eyes around too. Now here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. You could class this as 3 because it's close to this one. But we have groups again. So you're taking your eye across the page. Here I've done segmented. So I have 3 actually colored areas, and that consists of a grouping. So that'll take your eye down and around. Also I've put pink. So I have pink in the lips, so I put a pink here and a pink down here. So you always have your color just not in one area. You want to spread it around, but not so much that it becomes chaotic looking. This is another one where I use circles. Now this would be very boring if I just put the same color of circle on the whole thing. Also, if all the circles were behind her and none of them overlapping her, that also gives it kind of a boring look. But by doing the overlap and the circles are bunched together in certain areas, they're not equally spaced, that gives it interest. Here's another one of a bird with a lot of collage in it, and we have the bunching of flowers to make the grouping. We also have this paper, scrapbook paper, in 3 different spots, so it brings your eye in a triangle, which is soothing to the eye. This bird here, a cluster, and then a cluster over here. So we only have 2, but this here brings your eye up to it. So we have this as part of the grouping. Let's see. This one is very, very oriented into grouping. Now this is a grouping of a still life. So in order for it to be interesting, if I hadn't overlapped the paint onto this, this onto that, that onto this, it would be boring. If we had it all on the same line or in sections, so one here, one here, one here, one here, it wouldn't be that interesting to look at. But because I've overlapped the grouping, it's more interesting. This is another one. So again, it can be different things, but I've overlapped. Now notice I've kept a color palette, so that can also be really important as part of the grouping. So there I have kind of a terracotta color and an olive green and a gray. So I have 3 colors, but they are complementary to each other. So they're not canceling each other out. So grouping can be part of many, many aspects of composition, as you can see. Let's see, where else can I show this? This is more about color. So we have a little bit of blue here, we have a patch up here, and we have some down here. So it could be very minute if you have a main topic, but you still need to add some kind of aspect as a group of something, either texture, color, form, something to have your eye travel around. Now this isn't bad as far as the bunny's concerned. You could actually consider this a grouping. So you have the ears, 1, 2, and the face. So it's shape groups. This one here, again, the main subjects are this little guy, the trick-or-treater, and then the guy at the door. So again, 1, 2, 3. A triangle is very pleasing to the eye. So we have the triangle again here. So you could actually say this is the triangle, or here. So groupings, very, very important. Let's see some more. This one, a grouping of the flower. Same color, different shapes, but the same colors. So that gives them the indication that they're part of a group. This, I think it was a napkin here in 3 areas. A grouping here, 3 birds, a grouping. These 3 large snowflakes would be considered a grouping. Then I have 3 smaller snowflakes. There's another grouping. I also have some faded ones in the background. This can be considered a grouping. So you have your tree, the snowman, and the fire is your main focal points. That's a grouping. Your trees, there's part of a grouping here. We have 1, 2, 3 light bulbs up here, 1, 2, 3 light bulbs up here. And it takes your eye down to the snowman. This foot brings it down to here. So your eye travels in a path, and the groupings are what's helping it. Groupings again, birds. The set of trees is a grouping. A grouping of twigs, a grouping of trees. So you kind of have your interest in the middle here of the little bunny silhouette. But you're still bringing your eye around with the dark colors. So I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dark areas. So that, again, another grouping. This here is just the grouping of the houses. Now, it would be very boring if they were all the same size. And also, I've changed the colors, so that can be considered part of a grouping. The trees, 1 grouping, 2 grouping. Now this one didn't need it because I have one further away. If they were all the same height and the distance was the same, it'd be pretty boring as a painting. But because this is up close and it's on an angle, so it's different, that gives it interest. This can actually be considered a grouping of brick, the door, and then this here. So you have 3 long groups. the bunny. We have one big subject matter, and then this has dark in it and this has dark in it. So that kind of gives you three main things to look at. This one, it's the eggs that's the grouping. And notice I haven't put it in the center of the page. Your best grouping again is, where do you put your focal image? It's on the third of a page. So upper thirds or lower thirds. So you divide your paper into 3 sections both ways, and wherever they cross, those are the areas that's most appealing to your eye. So this is on the top third. Again, grouping. Grouping of flowers, person, and then the tree, a grouping of 3. And some of them can have more in it. It doesn't have to be just 3. So depends on your focal point also. Now this also has, this is the main focal on the third parallel of the page, and then this key and this flower are kind of your 3 focal points that you're looking at. Now I did put some paste on here, here, and here. So I'm still, whenever you're going to add color, texture, shape, even writing, try and do it 3, 5, or 7 or more. This is just a main, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little guys in there. This one is a little bit different, but I do have a grouping of the leaves. There's a grouping here, there's a grouping here. So the trees can be considered a grouping. The hills can be considered a grouping. So there's many aspects of it. Depends how much you want to get into it. This one here, the grouping of 3 up here. This could be, this whole vine could be considered one grouping. And then things to look at, you have this, the butterfly, and then this. So that's a grouping. So I thought I'd just show you that, and this is what we did last week, and a grouping. So try and think of things that you can group together. Overlap them. Put them on angles. They are still a group, but they're more interesting if you have, they're not geometrically even in all ways. That can be boring. So if they're a little crooked, they're turned a certain way, they're not facing head on, they've got a shadow, but try and stick to uneven numbers. So I hope this helps you in your arting adventures, and we'll see you next time. And be sure to check out the other artists that are on this video hub. You'll find some fantastic channels. Bye for now.